All right, we are back with another edition of Stronger Together, and I'm extremely excited. I typically do an opening, but I want to make sure we have enough time for our guest today. I was reading through his press kit coming on, and I learned so much this week. I feel like I've had my own professional development just reading up to have our next guest in. And I've said that from the beginning. Stronger Together is not just about one or two people, it's learning from each other from the field. And it's great this last few weeks and then the next few weeks coming up. I've had a chance to talk with FETC presenters, and that's where this idea came from a few years ago. Before COVID, we were actually in Miami for FETC and had a chance to talk with Jen Womble and really talking about capturing the power and excitement of the event, of the FETC event that happens the rest of the 360 days of the year. And our next guest is somebody who not only experiences that in person, carries that message out throughout the year, providing support, professional development, both on site and virtual. So I want to have him come in, share some of his resources, and talk about some of the great things that he has going on. So, Eric, thanks for joining from all the way out in Ohio.
Hey, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here. Awesome.
Uh,
Thanks for having me on.
of course, and for those who don't know the work that you do, or you share with the audience and listeners your work, your journey to get you to where you are today.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Eric Kurtz. I'm an educator in Northeast Ohio. This is actually year 31 for me.
Come on.
Yeah, this is my 31st year in education. So I started off as a middle school math teacher, taught math for 7 years, loved that, but I also loved technology. And so I ended up moving into a role as a tech coach in the same district that I was teaching. And so went from teaching the kids to teaching the teachers, and did that for another 14 years at that district. So 21 years total at that district. Then the last 10 years, I've been doing the same thing, but at the county office. So I still support that same district, but now I support
Mhm.
about 35 school districts up in Northeast Ohio. So that's my day job, is
Yeah.
providing professional development and support, sort of a cross between curriculum and technology for those 35 school districts. But then on the side, I've got my own personal consulting business, and I run the blog Control Alt Achieve. And so I share loads and loads of resources through Control Alt Achieve, and get a chance to travel around the country doing professional development for schools, for conferences, for organizations, sometimes in person, sometimes virtual. But that's the gist of, as far as the technology end of things goes. Yeah.
No, wonderful. And I've never really had a chance to share this with you, but you were definitely one of the people who helped me through my first district role. I was a building principal for 11 years, and then a superintendent had a bright idea that we're going to launch a one-to-one district with no tech department, but we'll bring in a principal. He'll know how to do this. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? And we launched a one-to-one district with Google, and your work and your resources were one that I leaned on really early on in my professional career, district level professional career, to launch a one-to-one initiative using Google and using a lot of your tools. So I want to thank you for that. And
That's fantastic. I'm so glad they were helpful.
absolutely. So speaking of, so the first real introduction I had with you was through your Control Alt Achieve work. And
Mhm.
for those of you who haven't picked up the book yet, well, first of all, make sure to get that, and you'll have a chance at FETC and many other places as well. But tell us a little bit about the background of that book and what will readers get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The book is very similar to what I share in my other mediums, whether it's through the blog or in professional development trainings or on my YouTube channel. It's typically taking the tools we already have and using them in a creative way for teaching and learning. So the book basically covers Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, and Google Drawings. And it says, okay, we've already got these tools. We've got docs and slides and sheets and drawings, and maybe we use docs as a word processor or slides as a presentation tool. That's fantastic. That's what they're built for. But as educators, we love to take things and kind of look at them at a 90-degree angle and go, wait a second,
Right.
what if we did this with it? And so that's basically what the book is. It's just dozens and dozens of ready to use creative projects and ideas for taking the tools we've already got and using them for student learning and creativity and communication. So it's like, how can you use Google Slides in other ways than a slideshow? So, it's like stop motion animation, and it's using Google Docs for choose your own adventure stories, and it's using, Google Sheets for pixel art, and it's using Google Drawings for interactive clickable posters. And it's that kind of an idea where take what we've got and say, okay, let's use it, and let's use it in a creative way to get students making and working together. So that's what the book is. It's a physical collection of all of that, but a lot of the same content is represented either on my blog or on my YouTube channel, or that's usually a lot of times what I'm training on when I'm out doing a presentation, is those kind of activities.
Yeah, and what I really appreciate in coming from, and that was just a little bit of my quick journey from teacher to principal to district um, innovative director, is that you talk about not only some of the real pushing educators on some of the great things you could do, you talk about where to start. And I think that's critically important. And for those of you who don't follow Eric, his Twitter handles below. Throughout this episode, I'm going to be having things scrolling down the bottom. Right now, his website is there with a lot of resources. But I think that's the big question, both when I was a principal in infusing technology, or then when I moved into the district role, first as the director of innovation and then as curriculum director. Sometimes people don't know where to start because they see these great things shared online, these big projects or websites, but they sometimes don't know where to start. So somebody who, and it sounds funny to say it now, but there's still people looking to take that first or second step. And
Absolutely.
where would you recommend those teachers to start, or those principals to say, here's what we should promote in our schools?
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I love, absolutely, I love, getting out on the cutting edge and all that, but we have to meet people where they're at. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm an educator first and foremost before anything. And that's the key thing about being an educator: meeting your students, meeting your learners, meeting your participants where they're at. And so I think a lot of the things that I share related to, Google Docs or Google Slides, those would be some of the easiest places if you're looking for, okay, what's, an easy way to just start using these tools in other ways. If people are a little intimidated by drawings or by sheets, I get that, but, slides, most people are reasonably comfortable with that. Docs, most people are reasonably comfortable with that. I've got dozens of really exciting, ideas and activities, again, right on the blog, right on my YouTube channel, in the book, if you prefer to hold it in your hand. I don't care. I just try to put it out in as many ways as possible so people can consume it in a way that they like to. And I think that's a great way to start, is say, okay, I'm going to try one of these activities where, we do something in Docs, but we add a little bit of a twist to it, or we do something in Slides, or even just having it be a choice for students. Not saying, okay, everybody has to do this activity, but listen, you've got to show that you understand photosynthesis. Okay, well, if you want to write a report, that's fine. But if you want to make a stop motion animation, that's awesome too. If you want to create a clickable infographic, that's awesome too. All of these different things are possibilities, and just letting it be a choice that students can make. That's a nice way to ease into it as well.
Absolutely. And again, one of the things that really impressed me with your work and the evolution of it, watching it through the years, is you provide not only in person the times that you get to travel and visit, but it's almost like personalized professional development. So as I said, below is the YouTube channel is scrolling by, that you provide opportunity for teachers to learn at their own time. And another thing besides the YouTube channel, I wanted you to chat a little bit about what would viewers get or users get, is your email group. So on
Yeah,
the website, you have your email group,
yeah,
you have your YouTube. So this, I always hear from teachers, I don't want one more thing. And I feel like a lot of what we're going to talk about today is one more thing, but it's all efficiency of having everything you do in one place. So why would people sign up for
yeah.
your email group or YouTube channel? Like, how is that benefiting
Right.
our educators?
Well, absolutely. And so, again, like I said a minute ago, I do try to take whatever I create and share it in as many mediums as possible, because it's up to, I want to meet people where they're at. And so if somebody
Yeah,
says, listen,
absolutely.
I like to watch videos, well, then I'm going to have it on YouTube. Somebody says, no, I'd rather, read it. It's on the blog. I'd rather consume it through social media. I put things on Facebook and Twitter and all these different, formats out there. And so, like, if somebody says, okay, I want to perhaps sign up for your newsletter or your email your email group? Well, it depends on what level of immersion you want. If you sign up for
Sure.
my newsletter, it's just a free newsletter I send out Monday or Tuesday morning. It basically says, hey, here's 5 or 4 or so many cool things I came across this last week. And then, hey, here's the things I've created recently and put on my blog, and have at it. And so it's basically me sharing to you. Whereas the email group, if somebody joins that, that's two-way communication. So now it's like, okay, I'm still going to share things, this same sort of stuff I'm going to put in my newsletter and on my site. I'm going to share that to the email group as well. But everybody gets to share. So you get to ask questions and pose, and post resources. And, some of the things that I've ended up sharing, in my newsletter are things that came from people who shared in the email group. And it's wonderful. We have hundreds of educators from all over the world. And it's a great way to communicate, to say, hey, I've got an issue, I've got a question, can somebody help with this? And to also share resources and to connect. And so it's really just a matter of whatever level of depth you want to go, whether it's one-way communication or two-way communication, but they're all there for you to meet you where you're at.
And speaking of meet you where you're at, we're going to have a chance to meet you at FETC.
Yeah.
And I initially had a graphic with all your sessions, but I think it took up more than the screen. So
That's okay.
one of the things that is really impressive that I just learned about this week, actually from Amy Bloom, and then from the work started to do, sign up for your resources and everything, is that you've created a sharing document for FETC. So I'd
Right.
love for you to talk about some of the sessions, or the ones that I'm sure you're excited about all of them, but some of the highlights for those who are heading down to New Orleans, and what this document is down below and the purpose of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm doing, I think, 9 sessions while I'm
Yeah.
there. A lot of them are the things we've already talked about. There's going to be a session on creative ways to use slides and drawings and sheets. All of that stuff, very, very, normal type stuff that I share. Those are fantastic. I definitely encourage people to join those. As far as what might be a little bit different, I am doing a session with somebody else, which I don't typically do. I mean, I love to do it. It's just that usually doesn't work out that way. It's usually just me presenting. But Patrick Houseman is going, or Houseman, I'm sorry, Pat, if I'm mispronouncing your last name. He and I've known him for years, just call him Pat. And we are doing a session that I normally do called Hipster Google, and he has his own name for that. And we were talking, basically, it's a session where we each typically talk about lesser known Google tools. And so we said, hey, we both do this session. How about if we
Right.
do it together? So we're going to do the Hipster Google Showdown. And so it's going to be
Nice.
him and I going back and forth. And he's got a really impressive beard as well.
He
So
does.
it's going to be the battle of the beards
I
as
like
we
it.
go back and forth sharing lesser known but very useful Google tools. So I'm excited about that one. That's going to be
Yeah,
really
that
different than
sounds
a
like it's
lot of what
great.
I normally do. And I am doing a couple of booth sessions, which I don't always get a chance to do either. I'm going to be at the Moat booth for 1 hour on, I think on Tuesday. Try to remember the dates there.
Yep.
And I'll be doing a booth session on how to use Moat and Google Slides to create a classroom soundboard. And I'll be giving away free copies of the book. I have books for sale, but I'll have free copies as well. And Moat's going to be giving away some free copies. Then I'm doing a booth session with Book Creator
Oh, wow.
on the last day that I'm there. And that one will be talking about all of the really awesome drawing tools that are included in Book Creator, including Auto Draw, which is a Google tool that is actually in Book Creator. So those things would be a little bit different than just the standard sessions that I teach. And I'm really looking forward to those, because those are all nice up close and personal ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so all your sessions, and I do have them here. You have, look at this. You are packed through there. So if you are watching, feel free to write some of these down. But the good news is it's on the FETC website. But even better, you have the document that's scrolling down at the bottom. Can you share what that is for, and just what a great resource that is?
Yeah. So, in addition to my blog post that I have where I go through all of the sessions I'm going to be doing, I included a link in my blog post at the very bottom of it to what I'm calling a sharing document. So, I just thought, you know what? There's a lot of people who come to FETC and they may feel overwhelmed. I know this is, I don't know, I've been going for 6 or 7 years, but I remember initially feeling very overwhelmed. Like, I don't even know, like, you know, how this works and where I should go. And of course, it's in New Orleans this year, so it's a
Yeah,
different location. People may not be familiar with that, and so I put together a very simple Google document, and anybody can access it. It's editable by anybody, and basically it gives people a chance to say, okay, I'm going to be attending FETC, and they can put in their information. So there's an attendee portion, share as much as they want, like their name and their email or their Twitter or something like that. So we know, hey, who's going to be there? Just the fact that we can,
absolutely.
meet new people before we get there. And then there's a section for sessions where people can share whatever sessions they're presenting. So like, oh, I want to check that out. That's awesome. There's a section for mixers and events. There's only one thing in there right now. Hopefully we'll fill that up with all these amazing, great vendor mixers and events and ways you can have fun while you're there. There's a section on attractions and restaurants and things to do. And that section is filled. People have been putting wonderful examples of great restaurants and why you should go to them. And there's a spot for questions and other comments where people are saying, hey, I'm not sure about this. Can somebody give me some advice on that? So basically, it's a one-stop shop. If you're going to FETC, jump into that document, fill in some of your information, and let's use it as a great way to connect even before we get there. And then when we get there, hopefully it'll be more beneficial for everybody having that information going into it.
Absolutely. And one of the things that impresses me of the work that you do is you model the what you teach about. And you literally sent a shareable document, an editable document
Yeah.
to the world.
Yep.
And
I
one
know.
of the things I hear from teachers, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because you do this work every day, is they're worried about turning over control to students. They're worried about having something editable. The first reaction would be someone's going to delete it all or
Yeah.
whatever it is. So
Yep. Yep.
for our educators watching who froze up, like, because some will be like, yeah, this is a great idea. I'm doing this tomorrow. And some will be like, I'm having a panic attack that I'm giving this out to my middle school boys who are going to put something they're not supposed to on there. So talk to our educators to kind of ease their fear, but also give
Yeah.
some tips to make this
Yeah.
workable for them too.
Well, absolutely. And I've been doing this whole thing about putting editable docs out for many years. I just and I guess ultimately I feel the benefit is more valuable than the risk. What we get by being able to connect like this, it has produced a document that would not exist otherwise, where all of these wonderful people are sharing great resources. And I think that's worth the risk. So
Sure.
what is the risk? Could somebody delete something? Could somebody put something in there inappropriate? Of course. And not only could it happen, it will happen. I mean, things like that have happened, but keep in mind, it's a Google document. So first of all, there's version history. I can just go into version history anytime I need, and I can restore something that got deleted. That's not a problem. And so, that's a key critical thing to know, that nothing is really lost forever if something
Mhm.
does happen like that. And then I also turn on the notification option in Docs. Now, Docs didn't used to have that. Sheets did. It's had it for years,
Yeah.
but now you can go into notification settings in Documents. You can say, I want to be notified when people add or remove content. And so it just sends me an email each day that has like a list of here's the changes that were made. And this is another way for me to kind of keep an eye on has something gone wrong here.
Sure.
So I have that as well. And also, people are the community is good at monitoring itself, and so I've had these editable documents for all. For example, I do the Google Educator Group of Ohio meetings. Those are once a month. We use an editable agenda for that too, and anybody can add to it. And if somebody gets out of line, the whole community jumps on and says, hey, wait a second, and they start fixing things and stuff. So it's a matter of us realizing as a whole community the value of being able to do this. And yeah, I've had some things go sideways before, but again, it's not the end of the world. You can always restore it, and it's a good teachable moment as to how do you deal with that. But ultimately, no, I would not change it for the world. I mean, because what we're getting out of this is so much more valuable than any risk that we run by letting everybody in the sandbox.
Yeah, and I think it just shows of how we can teach digital citizenship or wellness online or
Mhm.
what's appropriate use in real time is that we can see this happen and
Yep,
there's going if we go through our profession and think nothing's going to go wrong, it happens in the cafeteria. It's no different than online as well.
absolutely.
So we have a couple more minutes, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I ask some of our presenters and speakers that come on who present 8, 9 sessions, who go to events and are presenters. How do you learn and grow as an educator?
I oh my goodness, so many ways. So one thing that I know I've mentioned before at other occasions is I really like a tool called Feedly, Feedly. Feedly. Now everybody learns their own way, so whatever works for you is great. For me, I like to read blogs. I like to read websites that are posting information, but there are just so many websites out there that, there's just no way I could go visit, 150 websites each day to see, oh, has so and so shared new information. And so I use a tool called Feedly, which is basically an RSS aggregator. And
Hmm.
basically all that means is I can give it any website and it pulls that website into Feedly so that I go to Feedly. And when I go there, I see all the headlines from all of the sites I have fed into Feedly. And so basically, I'll have like a category called Google, and I'll have a category called EdTech, and I'll have these different categories. When I click on that, I'll see here are the 25, here are the 30, here are the 40 new blog posts or new articles or new things from the last day or two or three. And I just go click, 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 click through there and go, oh, that one looks really neat. I'm going to now read that one. Click, click, click. Oh, that one sounds great. Okay, I'm going to dive into that one. So basically, Feedly goes out and it brings the world to me. Now, I had to fill all those in initially. I had to. So anytime I come across, an awesome ed tech person, I go, do you have a website? Do you have a blog? I take it, I throw it into Feedly, and it just keeps aggregating all of that stuff for me. So basically, it takes everything and brings it into one place. Now, that works fantastic for me. I love that. That's a great way for me to stay on top of those things. Now, of course, I also learn from podcasts and YouTube, and I learn from
Sure.
lots of other things. But seriously, Feedly has to be one of my primary sources of pulling content in for me to be able to work through in an efficient manner.
Absolutely. And, I put up your FETC blog up there. But one of the things I did want to ask you, because you're talking about being efficient right
Mhm.
now, you're talking about being efficient with Feedly. For those of you who haven't checked it out, website is below. It's a great resource for sure. For those who are going to FETC for the first time, it can be overwhelming. So you talked about some teachers starting with some of our Google tools.
Yeah.
How are those first timers to FETC? They're getting off the plane, they're New Orleans, they're like, whoa, this is massive. How would you recommend them getting the most out of this event?
Well, I mean, when it comes to FETC, a few things that I would say, certainly be aware that there's a difference between workshops and regular sessions. Just need to know that up front. Be aware. Look at what sort of a registration you have. Do you have a registration that includes all the workshops or not? That way, when you're looking down through what's available, you know what you're able to attend. I've had some people get a little confused about that in the past, and we certainly would not want that to be the case. And then, yeah, certainly, go down through the list ahead of time, look for some things that look interesting, and start bookmarking or saving those or planning around those. But at the same time, realize that so much of the learning is also going to come in between the sessions and after
Yeah,
hours and the connections you make with people. So if you can't get into a session, if it's like, I couldn't get in, it was full, or for whatever reason, things didn't line up, go onto the expo hall and just talk to people. Just
right.
walk out onto the expo hall, start walking up and down the aisles, talk to some vendors, talk to people that you run into, and have conversations with people because they're there just like you. They've got the same passions and interests and excitement that you have for educational technology. Meet somebody, share with folks, and also, yeah, plug into some of those after-hour events and mixers and stuff. It's another good chance to connect with people because you're going to learn awesome things at FETC, but hopefully you're going to make connections with people that will extend beyond the conference, people that you'll stay in touch with, for years and years and years to come.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to end with the same question I ask every one of our guests: is what does stronger together mean to you?
Well, I think the perfect example would be, for example, that Google document that we've been talking about. I could have tried to put something together to say, hey, here are some tips and tricks for FETC. Instead, I said, hey, let's all do this. And so now we have a
Right.
document that is filled with all kinds of amazing people that already you can connect with. You can connect with them, on Twitter or whatever way you want to connect with them. There's all their sessions are listed there. There's suggestions of great things to do. I never could have created a document that valuable, but we are stronger together. We are better together because everybody came in together. And again, anybody could have done that. There was nothing special about what I did other than the fact I said, sounds like a good idea. Let's go boop and let's share it out. And so I would encourage anybody, do that sort of a thing. I didn't ask permission to do that.
Yeah,
I just
I'm
made
sure
a
Jen is
document.
fine with it.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
made a document and said, hey, let's all jump in this if you want to. And so please do that sort of thing. Take those risks and connect with others.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It's great to get a chance to chat. If you haven't, as I said, down below is Eric's website, Twitter. You connect on either of those two things. You can get through most of the mediums from there for sure,
You bet.
through the blog and the website and YouTube and all the great things you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you down in New Orleans.
Yes.
And what I think about when I saw the intro video, which is a lot of the FETC folks from before the pandemic, I got to add to it with all of our guests and all the people that we get a chance to see there. So for those of you heading down for the first time or for the 10th time, check out Eric, see his schedule, jump onto the document, and it's wonderful to connect together again and in person for sure. So thanks for coming on today for sure.
Thanks so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure.
And I'll speak for myself that I really appreciate the work that you do into supporting educators. And for me personally, it was one of the first steps that helped me in my role as a district leader. So I appreciate that. And for all of our listeners and viewers out there, Eric really exemplified the Stronger Together mindset today with everything he has done and shared. And as I say at the end of episode, we continue to be stronger together when we put we over me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And for those heading to New Orleans, look forward to seeing you.